Alright, so you want to play Pyroblast? So, I'm trying something new with this video. I have a character with a spec I like to play, but it doesn't have Fireball, so I'm going to put this video into two parts. The first part will feature the Fireball variant, and the second part will go over my Scorch variant. Also, special thanks to Grudge for providing his Fireball Pyro spec and helping me understand the playstyle in general. I also want to quickly note, this is probably one of the more difficult specs to roll, as it requires a good bit of RNG, but if you manage to get lucky enough, Fire can easily be one of the highest DPS specs in the game. Alrighty, with that out of the way, timestamp should be on the screen now, and let's just jump right into it. For level 1 rolls, you're looking to get Imp, Fireball, Life Tap, and Corruption. You're only looking to roll Corruption so you can pick up the talent Eradication. This talent functions as an RNG mini-lust, and it's typically where spec you into for PvE. And if you're not interested in Corruption, you can also go Fate or Fireblast. I would personally choose Fate or Corruption, but Fireblast is also a great choice because it allows you to run the legendary Flame On. This RE is good for PvP, and it also is a great choice for PvE if you have low gear. Now for spells you're looking to roll leveling, besides obviously Pyroblast, spells you're looking to roll include Combustion, Flame Tongue Weapon, Firestones, Fell Molten and Mage Armor, Arcane Power, Icy Veins, Power Infusion, and Moonconform. All caster specs are typically looking for Arcane Power, Icy Veins, and Power Infusion, as they're all around just good damage ADs, but specifically Fire Mage casters get Combustion. Combustion is specifically very good for the Fireball variant of the spec, as your Fireball and Pyroblast crits hit incredibly hard. You also want Firestones as they provide free passive stats. Fell Armor, Molten Armor, and Mage Armor all have an epic RE tied to them. These are all great choices if you don't end up rolling Moonconform, which is probably your best passive stance for crit and mana regeneration. Also, if you don't end up getting Pyroblast, this spec plays very differently, and you're likely to not be nearly as competitive. So if you don't have a skill card for Pyroblast, and you're desperate to play this spec, you can specifically level up to level 20, use your 2 free Scrolls of Fortune, and attempt to reroll into Pyroblast. So with this in mind, be prepared to either grind out a bunch of Marks of Ascension for skill cards, or get leveling. I'm going to quickly go over Flame Tongue Weapon, as it's specifically very interesting for this spec. Your Flame Tongue Weapon procs have a chance to proc Fired Up, but Fired Up is not consumed by Flame Tongue Weapon procs. So if you end up getting Flame Tongue Weapon, I would suggest you look into playing more of a melee hybrid style of this spec. And since you're already auto-attacking, you can also attack into Maelstrom Weapon for quick/instant cast fireballs. Now, we'll go over REs. My favorite thing about Fire in general is how many REs there are available to choose from. So pay close attention to what abilities you get, as there are a lot of potential REs to choose from. For legendary REs specifically, you can choose between Hot Hands or Flame On. Like I had stated earlier, Flame On works great if you have low gear, but past low gear, it's not nearly as powerful as Hot Hands. I also see many players run into the mistake of taking other legendaries. Please don't consider REs such as Harbinger of Flame or Boomer. These are not nearly as powerful as Hot Hands or Flame On, and you will vastly underperform compared to the other two REs. For epic REs, you're typically looking to run Pendulum, Fired Up, and Fireball. Pendulum provides a free no minions buff, Fired Up gives you a pseudo crit chance boost, and finally, Fireball does just a lot of damage. Plus, it looks really cool. Seriously, just look at that shit. It's awesome. I would also argue that Pendulum is a very flexible RE. If you happen to roll an Armor, or perhaps another ability tied to an epic RE, such as Blizzard, Hellfire, or Firestorm, don't be afraid to swap it out for Pendulum. You can also consider dropping Pendulum for Ethereal Form, as you may soon find out, Fire generates a lot of threat. As for lower quality REs, you're going to want Critical Mass, Spell Impact, World in Flames, Incineration, Precision, and Balance of Power. And depending on your gear, you can also afford to drop Balance of Power for another damage RE instead. Finally, we have talents. This specific talent list relies on you having Flame Tongue Weapon, so at the end, I'm going to list out what talents you should drop and what you can pick up instead. Anyways, talents you're going to want are Burning Soul, Burnout, Critical Mass, Demonic Knowledge, Dual Wield Specialization, Elemental Weapons, Empowered Fire, Firepower, Hot Streak, Ignite, Improved Fireball, Maelstrom Weapon, Master Demonologist, Pyromaniac, Raise, Spell Impact, Spiritual Attunement, and Torment the Weak. If you don't manage to roll Flame Tongue Weapon, the talents you should drop are Dual Wield Specialization, Elemental Weapons, and Maelstrom Weapon. These all sort of rely on you rolling Flame Tongue Weapon, so instead of these talents you should pick up Molten Fury, World in Flames, and finally 2 points in Death's Grasp. So there are 2 other talents that are specifically interesting to note, Spiritual Attunement and Torment the Weak. Spiritual Attunement is great for raids, as you'll be life tapping, and the healing you receive after life tapping will also generate mana. And Torment the Weak actually works with Thunderclap, so it works great in any dungeon or raid environment, but in solo play it's not very good. For 50 and 60 talents, you're going to want Living Bomb, Pain Suppression, and honestly your third talent is really flexible. Good choices are Totem of Wrath, Dragon's Breath, and Shadow Fury. Additionally, you can justify keeping the AE open, and instead spending the 2 talent points elsewhere. But the choice is entirely up to you. Alright, so that does it for the Fireball portion of this video. I would like to thank Grudge again for his contribution on this video, and now I'll go over my variation of this spec using Scorch exclusively. Alright, so the Scorch variant is pretty similar to the Fireball version, but there's a few key differences. I'm going to follow the same format, going over REs, talents, etc., but I won't repeat any specific explanations. Hold on, did that deer just walk into the fucking shot? I'm also going to specifically highlight PvP information. With that out of the way, I'll start off with level 1 spells. Obviously you can't roll Scorch level 1, and you should definitely not skill card Scorch over Pyroblast for PvE, so it's entirely random if you manage to get it. So to be safe, I would plan on playing a Fireball variant, and if you happen to roll Scorch while leveling, I would experiment to see which version you like the most. If you plan on PvPing exclusively, I recommend you still try and skill card Pyroblast, as it still does a lot of damage, but at the same time, it's not technically required for PvP. Also, for PvP, your level 1 start should be Life Tap, Fireblast, Sprint, and a Self Heal. Now, for spells you're looking to roll while leveling. Most of these spells are similar to the Fireball variation, so I won't list them all out again, but there's some specific important information you should know about the Scorch variant when it comes to the spells you're looking to roll. Combustion is significantly worse with the Scorch variant, as Scorch doesn't scale very well compared to Fireball, so you shouldn't pop Combustion at the start of a fight, so you should instead plan on popping it when you have multiple Hot Streak procs lined up, as your goal is to maximize Pyroblast damage with the Scorch spec. Also sorta specific to the Scorch spec, you really want to be on the lookout for mobility spells. The best thing about Scorch in general is that you can run the epic RE, Scorched Earth, and do your entire DPS rotation while moving. Spells such as Disengage, Blink, Sprint, Powered Shield with Body and Soul, Aspect the Pack and Cheetah are all very powerful for the spec. You can utilize them more effectively really than any other DPS spec in the game. Now I'll go over REs. The only legendary you consider for this spec in PvE is Hot Hands. It just significantly outperforms Flame On with Scorch. This is because your plan is to chain crit Scorch and Pyroblast indefinitely using the second portion of this RE, which allows Pyroblast to trigger Hot Streak. But if you plan on PvPing, I would say Flame On is actually better, as you can utilize the range granted from the RE more effectively than you could in PvE. For epic REs, I would always go with Fired Up and Scorched Earth, but your third RE is very flexible, based on what you roll. I personally take Twisted Mind, as I need the hit chance, and I happen to roll Foul Armor. But if you didn't happen to roll an ability tied to an epic RE, you can instead take Pendulum or Ethereal Form. As for lower rarity REs, I like to take Master of Elements, Critical Mass, Celestial Focus, Balance of Power, World in Flames, Precision, and Incineration. There isn't too much to say about most of these REs. They're all just crit chance and hit chance, except for Master of Elements and Celestial Focus. I like to take these two REs specifically because fire spells cost a lot of mana, and the small amount of spell haste really helps you pump out more spells. You definitely don't need these two, but I like to take them myself. Now, I'll go over talents. I like to take Burnout, Critical Mass, Demonic Knowledge, Powered Fire, Hot Streak, Ignite, Improved Scorch, Incineration, Master Conjurer, Master Demonologist, Master of Elements, Molten Fury, Pyromaniac, Raise, Spell Impact, and World in Flames. Most of these talents are pretty similar to the Fireball variant, but there's a bigger emphasis on crit chance rather than Fireball damage. All the talents here pretty much work for every Scorch spec, with an exception to Master Conjurer, where I like to take this as it doubles the spell haste granted from spellstones. Instead of this talent, I would put 2 points of Burning Soul or Firepower. I also wanted to quickly mention, you can drop Pyromaniac, Empowered Fire, and Master of Elements if you plan on PvPing exclusively. Technically, you can justify keeping Empowered Fire, but I would personally drop it over a talent that provides utilities such as Ardent Defender or Fiery Payback. For 50 and 60 talents, I like to take Living Bomb, Pain Suppression, and Totem of Wrath. I would argue these are mandatory for PvE, as each of these abilities really synergize with your spec, but for PvE, I would rather take Living Bomb, Dragon's Breath, and Shadow Fury. Alright, so that's the end of the guide. I hope you found this helpful. If you have any questions for me, or about the spec, or Ascension in general, please feel free to ask in the comments. But for now, that's all I got. Thanks for watching.